The times we're living in are indeed unprecedented as technology and human consciousness dance ever closer to each other, as economic forces and social structures transform before our very eyes, and as our understanding of what it means to be human is stretched, tested, and in some ways unmoored. So, where does that leave us? At this very moment, I see a culture that is both hungry and paralyzed. Hungry because there is an undeniable sense that people are searching for meaning. They are yearning for authenticity, for something real amidst a world of illusions. And yet paralyzed because the systems we rely on, our economic, social, and cultural frameworks, are outdated, designed to meet the needs of another era, an era of division, of hierarchy, of profit above all else. But that era, I believe, is coming to a close, not with a clear resolution, but with a slow, disorienting unraveling. It's as though our culture has lost its narrative thread, or perhaps never really had one that could carry us into this new, complex world we find ourselves in. We're inundated with information, but most of it is noise, distractions that keep us from looking at the real problems we face or from seeking genuine solutions. You see it everywhere in the media and politics, in the endless drive for superficial achievements. It's like a circus of mirrors, each reflection distorted, making it harder to recognize what's real and what's not. And it leaves us wondering, where is the meaning in all of this? I believe we're here today because we've felt something calling us to look beyond the surface. We sense that within the vast unknowns of the human mind lies a kind of wisdom that transcends any of the stories we tell ourselves about power, status, or control. And yet, how do we find that wisdom? How do we tap into those forgotten realms of the soul, those spaces where meaning is intrinsic, where beauty is not an abstraction but a lived experience? To begin answering that question, we must step outside of our cultural programming. And for me, that has always meant venturing into the realm of psychedelics. Now, understand, I don't see psychedelics merely as tools for recreation or escapism. No, they are sacred technologies, ancient allies that indigenous cultures have revered for centuries as bridges to the divine, as ways to reconnect with the deeper truths of existence. And in my own experiences, I have found that they offer a perspective that is entirely unique, one that defies conventional thought and challenges every assumption we hold about reality. When we take these substances, we step into a world that is both alien and familiar. It's as though we are suddenly able to see the universe with a clarity that has been obscured by layers upon layers of societal conditioning. We glimpse a realm where time is fluid, where self and other dissolve, where the boundaries between life and death blur into a single, continuous dance of energy and consciousness. And it is here in these sacred states that we begin to see our culture, for what it is, a game, an elaborate structure of beliefs, habits, and values that serves to keep us within a particular story about ourselves, a story that is no longer sufficient. So here we are, travelers in these states of consciousness where our usual certainties dissolve, where the ego loosens its grip, and we are free to see the world not through the lens of I, but through the lens of we, of interconnectedness. In these states, we begin to perceive the world as a living system, a unified whole, where every part, no matter how small, contributes to the balance and beauty of the entire cosmos. And what does this expanded consciousness reveal to us about our modern lives? Quite a lot, actually. The first thing that often becomes starkly clear is that the world we inhabit, the modern industrialized world, is built on values and principles that are fundamentally disconnected from nature, from spirit, and from the intrinsic intelligence of life itself. We have placed ourselves at the center, seeing ourselves as separate, as somehow above the very systems that sustain us. This, my friends, is the root of so much of our collective suffering. We have mistaken our roles as stewards and collaborators with life for that of masters and conquerors. When you truly experience this interconnectedness, it becomes impossible to justify the systems of exploitation and domination that are so pervasive today. You can no longer see nature as a resource to be used up, nor can you ignore the suffering of others, because you come to understand in a visceral way that their suffering is your suffering. The trees, the rivers, the animals, even the stars, all are bound to you in ways that defy rational explanation. They are part of you and you are part of them. And so, returning to our modern world after such a revelation can feel jarring, even disorienting. You see the absurdity of much of what we take for granted, the endless consumerism, the fixation on status and accumulation, the drive for control over others. We have structured our lives around the notion of having rather than being, on acquisition rather than appreciation. And this is a deep existential mistake, one that leaves us perpetually unfulfilled, grasping for the next thing, always searching but never truly finding what we're looking for. Yet the modern mind resists this knowledge. We live in a world where everything is quantified, measured, and compared. Success is measured by the number of things we own or by the digits in our bank accounts, and happiness is packaged as something we can buy. But the psychedelic experience teaches us otherwise. It reveals that the true wealth lies not in what we have, but in our capacity to be present, to experience, to connect deeply with ourselves, with each other, and with the world around us. You see, the materialistic culture we inhabit is very clever at distracting us. It provides us with endless sources of stimulation, endless ways to avoid sitting with ourselves, to avoid confronting the deeper questions of life. Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And because these questions can feel uncomfortable, even frightening, we often choose the comfort of distraction over the challenge of self-discovery. We turn to entertainment, to social media, to substances, to anything that helps us escape from the silence within. But here's the thing, it is precisely in that silence, in that place of stillness, that the answers lie. When we can quiet the noise, when we allow ourselves to sit in the discomfort, something profound begins to happen. We start to hear the voice of the soul, the quiet yet powerful wisdom that lives within each of us. And this is where the true journey begins. The journey not outward but inward, to a place that no amount of consumerism or external success can reach. This is why I believe so deeply in the transformative power of psychedelics. They cut through the noise, the distractions, the cultural conditioning, and they bring us face to face with our own essence. They show us that we are not separate, not isolated beings drifting in a meaningless universe, but rather expressions of a vast interconnected mystery, each of us playing a unique role in the cosmic symphony. Now let's consider what this expanded consciousness asks of us in practical terms, how it can shape the way we live, love, and create. The insights gained from these experiences are not meant to stay confined to the psychedelic journey itself. They are meant to be integrated, to permeate our daily lives and ultimately to help us co-create a new culture. One of the first realizations that often comes from these states is that the notion of self as a separate, isolated entity is a grand illusion. The boundaries we imagine between ourselves and others, between ourselves and nature, are constructs of the mind. When these boundaries dissolve, what remains is a profound sense of empathy, a feeling that we are all participants in a shared experience. We come to see that our actions have consequences far beyond our own lives. We understand that kindness, compassion, and cooperation are not just lofty ideals, but essential elements of a balanced, harmonious existence. Imagine what society would look like if it were built upon these values, if we designed our systems not with profit as the ultimate goal, but with the well-being of all life as the guiding principle. Imagine a world where our educational institutions taught not only facts and figures, but also the art of self-awareness, the importance of empathy, and the beauty of diversity. Imagine if our economic systems valued contribution over consumption, sustainability over growth, and creativity over conformity. These are not utopian fantasies. They are visions of a more mature, evolved human society, a society that understands itself as part of a living earth, rather than as a collection of isolated individuals competing for survival. So how do we begin to build such a society? The journey begins within, as each of us comes to understand our own interconnectedness, our own power to shape reality. We start to live differently. We treat others with respect, not out of obligation, but because we recognize that they too are part of us. We care for the earth not as an abstract environment, but as our living, breathing home, as a sacred space deserving of our deepest love and gratitude. But this kind of transformation doesn't happen overnight. Our current culture is deeply embedded in patterns of competition, dominance, and separation. It thrives on conflict and scarcity, on the belief that there is never enough, that we must take what we can before someone else does. This is the mindset that drives war, exploitation, and environmental destruction. And changing it requires courage, because it asks us to step outside of the comfort zones we have been conditioned to inhabit. One of the greatest gifts of the psychedelic experience is that it grants us a glimpse of what's possible beyond these limited beliefs. It shows us that life is not a zero-sum game, that there is enough, more than enough for everyone if we shift our focus from hoarding to sharing, from fear to trust, from competition to collaboration. When you see the world through this lens, you realize that love, creativity, and wisdom are inexhaustible resources waiting to be tapped and shared. In practical terms, living in this way means embracing a spirit of curiosity and openness. It means questioning the stories we've been told about success, about what it means to be productive or valuable. It means valuing relationships over transactions, presence over productivity, authenticity over appearance. It means that instead of viewing life as a race to the top, we see it as a journey of growth and exploration, a chance to learn, to evolve, and to experience the full spectrum of what it means to be human. And this transformation, though it begins within, naturally radiates outward. The more we cultivate love and awareness in our own lives, the more we inspire others to do the same. We become, in a sense, cultural alchemists, transmuting the heavy lead of separation into the gold of unity. And in this way, we each contribute to the slow but inevitable evolution of our species. As I stand here before you, I find myself remembering my own journey, how I stumbled onto this path of exploration and questioning, a path that would lead me to experiences I could never have anticipated. I wasn't born with some innate understanding of the cosmos or a clear vision of human potential. No, like many of you, I was simply curious. I wanted to know what was beyond the edges of the map, beyond the limits of ordinary experience. In my 20s, I found myself in the Amazon, following the lure of mystery and the wisdom of indigenous cultures who had for centuries been the custodians of plant knowledge. I was seeking something intangible, something that couldn't be found in books or learned in lecture halls. I sensed that there were secrets held within nature, secrets that could unlock new ways of understanding life itself. And so one night under the stars, surrounded by the sounds of the jungle, I drank ayahuasca for the first time. That experience changed me forever. It was as though a doorway had opened within my mind, revealing a world that was at once familiar and incomprehensibly vast. I saw visions of luminous landscapes, of beings made of light, and I felt a profound connection to the earth, to the pulse of life that animates all things. But more than that, I was shown the vastness of the human soul, the limitless potential that lies within each of us. I came to understand that consciousness is not confined to the brain or the self. It is a fundamental property of the universe itself, a field of intelligence that we are all part of and that we can access if we are willing to open ourselves to it. I returned from the Amazon a different person. The life I had known, the assumptions, the ambitions, the preoccupations, all seemed so small in comparison to the immensity of what I had glimpsed. I could no longer live in the world in the same way, nor could I accept the idea that human beings were simply isolated creatures driven by survival and competition. I had seen with absolute clarity that we are something much greater than that, that we are interconnected, interdependent, and fundamentally united in ways our ordinary senses cannot perceive. Now, these kinds of experiences are often dismissed by the mainstream as hallucinations or delusions, but I would argue that they reveal a deeper reality, one that is no less valid simply because it cannot be quantified or measured by conventional science. In fact, I believe that these experiences provide a glimpse of a higher truth, a truth that modern culture is only beginning to recognize, that consciousness is the primary fabric of reality, that the mind and the world are not separate but deeply intertwined. Over the years, as I continued to explore these realms, I realized that one of the greatest challenges we face is not the experience itself, but integrating it, bringing it back into the world in a way that is grounded, meaningful, and sustainable. For a time, I found it difficult to reconcile the beauty and unity I experience in altered states with the often harsh and fragmented nature of the modern world. But then I came to see that this was precisely the task, to be a bridge, to carry these insights back into ordinary life, to let them inform my choices, my relationships, and my vision for the future. And so that is what I dedicated myself to, sharing what I had learned, not as dogma or doctrine, but as an invitation to others to embark on their own journeys, to discover their own truths. I began speaking and writing not to provide answers, but to provoke questions, to encourage people to look beyond the narrow confines of consensus reality and to explore the boundless possibilities of the human mind. And I want to tell you, as someone who has spent a lifetime on this path, that it is not always easy. The psychedelic experience is not a shortcut to enlightenment or a cure-all for the challenges we face. It is a powerful, sometimes overwhelming encounter with the unknown, and it demands that we confront parts of ourselves we might prefer to ignore. It shows us our fears, our attachments, our illusions, and it asks us to let them go, to step into a more expansive version of ourselves. But my friends, if we are willing to take that journey, if we have the courage to face the darkness as well as the light, then we can emerge transformed. And it is this transformation, this awakening to our interconnectedness that has the power to heal not only ourselves, but our society, our planet, our future. As I've walked this path, one of the most powerful realizations I've come to is the importance of community. The psychedelic journey, though deeply personal, is not one we are meant to undertake alone. We are by nature social beings, interconnected not only by biology, but by spirit, by shared experiences, and by the dreams we hold for a better world. This work of awakening to our deeper selves, of transforming our consciousness, is not simply for our own benefit. It's something we do, in a sense, on behalf of all of humanity, and indeed on behalf of the earth itself. Throughout history, shamans, visionaries, and mystics have known this. They understood that those who explore the edges of reality, who journey into the unknown, carry the responsibility of bringing back wisdom for the benefit of the community. In many indigenous cultures, a shaman's role was not to seek personal enlightenment or transcendence, but to heal, to guide, to help the community stay in balance with nature and with spirit. Their visions were seen not as private experiences, but as gifts to be shared, as insights that could benefit everyone. In the modern world, we've largely lost this understanding. We live in a culture that celebrates individual achievement and independence, that often sees personal growth as an end in itself. But I believe that the true purpose of the psychedelic journey is not to escape from the world, but to engage with it more fully, to bring the insights we gain back into our communities, to share our perspectives, our compassion, our courage. This is the role of the psychonaut, the modern-day seeker, not merely to experience altered states, but to alter the world through love, through wisdom, and through a vision of unity that transcends the narrow boundaries of ego and self-interest. So how do we do this? How do we take these profound, often ineffable experiences and translate them into real, meaningful change? I believe the answer lies in community. When we come together, when we share our stories, our challenges, our triumphs, we create a space of mutual support, a space where transformation can take root and flourish. We remind each other that we are not alone in this journey, that there are others who see the world as we do, who feel the same urgency to create a culture based on empathy, respect, and reverence for life. Building this kind of community requires openness and vulnerability. It means being willing to speak from the heart, to share not only our visions, but also our doubts and fears. It means creating spaces where we can be our true selves, where we don't have to wear the masks that society often demands. In such spaces, we can begin to heal the wounds of separation and isolation, to break down the barriers that keep us apart. we can begin to see each other not as strangers or competitors, but as fellow travelers on a shared journey. This is the work of what I call cultural restoration. It's the process of reclaiming the sacred, of remembering that we are more than consumers, more than cogs in a machine. It's about reawakening to the beauty and mystery of existence, and then embodying that awareness in the way we live, in the way we treat each other, in the way we care for the earth. And while it may sound idealistic, I believe it is not only possible but necessary if we are to navigate the challenges of the modern world. Environmental destruction, social inequality, existential alienation. We must come together. We must learn to see ourselves as part of a greater whole. In my own life, I have seen the power of this kind of community firsthand. I've had the privilege of meeting people from all walks of life, artists, scientists, healers, activists, all united by a common vision of a more compassionate, more awakened world. And what I have observed is that when we support each other in this work, when we share our knowledge, our experiences, our dreams, something remarkable happens. We begin to build a new culture, a culture of belonging, of purpose, of meaning. We start to embody the very qualities that our psychedelic experiences have shown us: love, interconnectedness, humility, and we bring these qualities into the world in tangible ways. And it is here, I believe, that true transformation occurs, not in the fleeting beauty of a vision, not in the temporary transcendence of an altered state, but in the daily practice of living with awareness, with kindness, with a commitment to the well-being of all. This, to me, is the essence of the psychedelic path, not the pursuit of personal enlightenment, but the awakening of the heart, the cultivation of a spirit that sees all life as sacred and worthy of care. So here we are, standing on the precipice of great possibility with a vision of unity and love that, while often obscured, can illuminate the path forward. The question now becomes, how do we carry this vision into our everyday lives? How do we live in such a way that our actions, our choices, and our relationships reflect the insights we've been granted? One of the most important things we can do is to cultivate a practice of presence, of mindfulness. In our fast-paced, hyper-connected world, it's easy to get swept up in the currents of distraction, to lose ourselves in the demands of the external world. But the psychedelic journey teaches us that true wisdom, true clarity, comes not from the external, but from within. It shows us that there is a stillness, a peace, a knowing that lies at the very center of our being. And when we connect with this inner space, when we learn to anchor ourselves in the present moment, we begin to live from a place of authenticity, of integrity, of love. Being present doesn't mean withdrawing from the world. It means engaging with it more deeply, more consciously. It means choosing to show up fully in each moment, whether we are with friends, with family, at work, or even alone with ourselves. It means listening deeply with compassion to those around us, being willing to see beyond surface appearances, beyond roles and identities, and connecting with the essence of the person before us. And as simple as this may sound, it is perhaps one of the most radical acts we can undertake. For in a world of distraction, attention is power, and true attention, true presence, is the foundation of love. Another essential part of this journey is embracing creativity. You see, when we expand our consciousness, when we step beyond the limits of the ego, we open ourselves to a vast field of inspiration, of possibility. We begin to see that life itself is a creative act, a work of art in which we are both the artist and the canvas. And this creativity is not confined to traditional forms of expression like painting or music. It can be applied to every aspect of our lives. It's in the way we speak, the way we move, the way we solve problems, the way we relate to others. When we allow ourselves to create from a place of inspiration, we begin to shape a world that reflects our highest values, our deepest dreams. And I would urge each of you to bring this creativity into everything you do, to see your life as a canvas, a sacred work in progress. Don't be afraid to experiment, to break free from convention, to imagine new ways of being, of relating, of living. In a world that often feels stagnant, locked into patterns of repetition and control, creativity is the ultimate act of rebellion. It is a statement of freedom, a declaration that we are not bound by the limitations of the past, but are capable of birthing new realities, new paradigms, new ways of being. But of course, these are not things we do alone. Community, once again, is essential. Surround yourself with those who inspire you, who challenge you, who support you on this journey. Create spaces where you can share your ideas, your visions, your experiences. Find or create a community of people who are committed to this work of transformation, who are willing to explore the unknown, to question the status quo, to imagine a world that reflects the beauty and unity we have glimpsed in our journeys. For when we come together, when we share our energies, our insights, our dreams, we create a field of possibility that is far greater than the sum of its parts. In closing, I want to leave you with a reminder. This path, this work of awakening is not about perfection. It is not about having all the answers or achieving some final state of enlightenment. It is about being present, being honest, being willing to learn, to grow, to make mistakes, and to begin again. It is about remembering again and again that life is a gift, that each moment is an opportunity to awaken, to love, to create. And though the road may be challenging, though there will be times of doubt, of struggle, of uncertainty, know that you are not alone. You are part of a great unfolding, a vast tapestry of consciousness that is moving, evolving, growing toward greater understanding, greater compassion, greater unity. Each of us carries a spark, a light that is uniquely our own. And when we allow that light to shine, when we bring our full selves to the world, we create a ripple, a wave, a movement. We become the architects of a new culture, a culture that honors the sacred, that celebrates life in all its forms, that remembers that we are and have always been connected. So go forth, my friends, with courage, with love, with an open heart. Trust in the journey, trust in the wisdom within you, and know that together we are creating something beautiful, something sacred, something that will endure.